Thank you, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are joining us from tonight. It's so exciting to have you here. And I really want to welcome all our amazing lineup of people that are talking to us tonight. I believe that tonight is going to be really impactful in each and every one of us' lives in Jesus' name. So that it would be very great for me to give you a bit of a background about this amazing woman that is about to give us, I believe, like a very unforgettable introduction of this session. So shortly, you'll be listening to a very powerful woman. I call her a very powerful woman. She's an amazingly special person. I connected with her, I think, 2 years ago. And that was while I was away from my family. It was at this season where I was really expectant for something great to come into my life. And I believe that God just had a way of orchestrating and bringing her into my life around that time. And one of the very first attractions that, I had for her was that I discovered she was a scientist like me. And aside from that, she was a successful serial entrepreneur. You can't even imagine all the businesses that this amazing woman has done or she has dipped her fingers into. And shortly after that, I got to know that she's also a woman who is very passionate about holding the hands of other women to succeed and to live an exceptional life. I was like, okay, say no more. Like, there is so much to glean from this powerhouse. And what happened after that was that I moved into a very powerful community. She runs, I'm sure you guys are going to hear about it tonight. She runs a community that is called the Seun Akinlotan Network. And that community is for mature women who are not okay with with status quo, but they're very committed to growing across different areas of their lives. In that short time that I've met this woman, I can tell you that she's one woman I've seen walk and talk in exceptional ways. You know the saying that people usually say that you are the sum of the 5 or 10 people that you surround yourself with. If you are looking at someone who really is a direct picture of that, it is this amazing woman. And it is no coincidence that all the women that we have lined up to talk to us tonight are also women from this powerful Seun Akinlotan network. That should tell you something. I could go on and on to say a lot of things, but today, right now, is for the coach of all coaches to pour into us. And I want you guys to really pay attention because they're going to be taking a lot of amazing stuff away from here. We're talking about the Inspire Growth Academy to continue to inspire growth in people. And I believe that that is what this woman and all the other women are going to do for us tonight. So give it up for Seun Akinlotan, who is going to come up shortly.
Okay, good afternoon from Delaware, United States, and good evening to my folks from Nigeria. Good evening to people calling in from the UK, wherever you are from the world. Good evening. It's my absolute pleasure to be here today. Thank you, Queen Dr. Tolu Olawole, for that beautiful introduction. I was sitting here and then wondering, are you talking about me? Well, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for the honor. Thank you for the privilege. I also want to acknowledge my co-queens. Hi, everyone. I see you all. You look beautiful. You look radiant. Thank you for being here. So, this is the gist. I don't know anything. I'm here to learn. I am here to learn from you all. But I have a little story that I'll share with you. Then we're going to delve into the session. So just come with me. I'm going to share my screen now because I do have my presentation slides, all for Queen Dr. Tolu. I wanted to make it a little bit interactive and also kind of share from my experience. So we're going to learn together. and I'm looking forward to gleaning from you all as well. I will share my screen now. Let's go. Can you see my full screen?
Not yet. Okay, yes, we see it now.
Okay, thank you. So the theme of today's session is the entrepreneur's journey, dream, start, grow. When I first saw the title, in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is 2025. Why do we need to talk about an entrepreneur's journey? And why do we need to focus on starting small? That took me down memory lane. And I recall when I started my first business, I believe around 11 years old, or maybe 10, 11 or 10, whatever. That was my preteen years, because I had seen my mom build a mountain out of a molehill. I had seen my mom bear results even when there was lack, even when there was scarcity. So I'm about to tell you a story, and before I share this story with you, please promise me that you will not laugh at me. If you laugh at me, I'm going to yank you off the Zoom call, because I actually have the admin privileges. If I see or catch anyone laughing at me, you're going to be yanked off. Anyway, I thought that it was fit for me to start this sugar gari business. And for the purposes of today's presentation, I decided to name it. I didn't have a name for it then. So I'm going to name it Sugar Gari Nigeria Limited. What do I mean by sugar gari? When I was 10, 11 years old, I was in high school. I was in JSS1. And I decided that, you know what? I love mixing sugar and gari together. If you attended high school in Nigeria, you would also recall that we had some nylon bags, which is also polythene bags, that we call yodi. It's like pointed. So I loved to mix my sugar and gari together and put it in this pointed nylon bags, so that break time, I can use my teeth to yank off the pointed part and just pour that gari and sugar into my mouth. So I thought this would be a great idea, and I started packaging sugar and gari. I don't recall how much I started with, maybe 50 naira, maybe 20 naira. I really don't recall. But I knew that I had to buy sugar. The gari, my mom was my source. I only had to go into her pantry, loan some gari from her, which I never repaid. But the first week that I started the business, by the end of that week, I had already finished more than half of my stock myself. I didn't sell them. I finished it. And I was broke. I didn't make any profit. People were coming to me. I gave some away. But that was my first taste of entrepreneurship. Because many times when we think about entrepreneurship, we think about, oh, okay, the idea has to be grand. And I'm here to tell you tonight, it doesn't have to be grand. The other part is, when we think about entrepreneurship, we think about profit. Sometimes you might lose all your money, including your capital. And sometimes when you lose that money, it then begins to form that foundation for you to know what doesn't work. So the fact that you failed in business, or the fact that you've tried your hands on so many different things and nothing seems to be working, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means that you've learned one way that things cannot work. So that's my sugar gari story. And even though I'm unable to really see anyone at the moment, I hope you didn't laugh at me. I failed in my first business. It crumbled in a week. So let's move forward. Let's talk about how to start. Now, moving forward, after I started my first business and it crumbled, I've done countless businesses since then, just like Queen Tolu shared. If I begin to enumerate all the things that I've laid my hands on, we're not going to leave here today. But I really want to focus on that concept of dreaming, starting and growing. It's a beautiful concept. It's actually a miracle that if you try to experience it, it leads to fulfillment. And that is what I want us to talk about. Every one of us, God has given us that ability to dream, start, and grow. I'm going to break these three things down so that we can have a full understanding. And when the panelists come in later, we can rub minds together, share our experiences, and hopefully we'll all glean one or two things that we are going to implement after this session today. Let's talk about dreaming. Just like I told you in the beginning about my Gary business, I've had a lot of dreams over the years. One dream that I had in 2015 was that I was going to leave the United States of America and travel to Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, to be precise, to host a Passion to Profit conference. I never lived in Lagos before I relocated to the United States. Yes, maybe I have a couple of friends in Lagos, but that in itself was me daring to dream. I had this huge dream, huge burden inside of me to impact other women. I am a firm believer that God has created each and every one of us with things in our hands that we can use our hands to build things, irrespective of our educational background or qualifications, our socioeconomic status, our family history, our gender, most especially because as women, we all lived in a patriarchal society in Nigeria growing up. And we know that a lot of people tend to hold back because they believe they don't have access to capital. So you might have all these big dreams and you're wondering, I don't have the capital to implement this. But I did it. I packed my bags and I went to Nigeria to host this conference. The conference turned out to be one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever embarked on. Because not only did God raise an army of people to assist me and help me to birth this dream, it was also the beginning of what we now know today as the Power Woman Foundation, the Power Woman Experience Foundation. So I traveled to Nigeria because I had a strong why. If you are thinking, how can I get this started? You need to be grounded in a strong why. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is prompting me? Is it because other people are doing it? Is it because I'm seeing it on social media? When I wanted to go to Lagos, Nigeria, even my mom discouraged me. She said, nobody's going to listen to you. People are going to scam you. But because I had that burden in my heart, I knew that if women could listen to my message, that they are able to turn their passions into profit. I knew that lives will be liberated. I had that burden in my heart to speak into the lives of women, to bring my community together. In fact, at the end of that conference, someone got a job. It's all about relationships. It's all about building connections. So define your why. Also, when you're dreaming, think about the impact that you're going to make. It's not just about income. I have been privileged to be a part of a lot of communities that empower women, communities that teach. I am also a firm believer that when women are educated, there's liberation. So I don't go out to give people material things. I love to invest in people, things that I know will stand the test of time. So when you're thinking of dreaming, think about impact. It's not just about the income. It's not about making yourself rich. Then the other thing I wanted to share about dreaming is that you need to believe that it's possible, because a lot of people will doubt you. In my journey as an entrepreneur, I've had people tell me you can't do that. But guess what? Because I've taken the time to define my why, to define why I'm embarking on that journey, to know and map out my path, and knowing that because God has empowered me to take that journey, no one can deter me, no one can derail me, because I have already put myself in a position where I know the reason. I'm very clear about the reason for which I'm embarking on that journey. And that's the same thing I want you to do today. Maybe you've sat on that idea for so long. You've thought about what would people say. Maybe it's your spouse discouraging you. It might even be your age. You might be saying, oh, I'm almost 50, I'm almost 40, I'm almost 30, whatever it is. That time will pass anyway. Define your why. When you define your why, it gives you that momentum. It gives you that courage to push forward. Let's talk about start. This is where things can get a little tricky, because I know that if I ask everyone right now to put one thing or the other that they've dreamed about in the chat box will be overflowing. But let's not go there. Let's focus on the start part. There are a lot of us that we dream at the end of the year. There's an activity that I put together every year. It's called the vision board party, I like to call it. And it's an opportunity for people to come together, think about the following year and say, hey, these are the things that I would like to achieve in different aspects of life. Some may be personal, some may be career-wise, maybe in their families and things like that. And by the time you get to perhaps the end of January, many of these dreams are thrown out of the window, because a lot of people are held back by fear. But guess what? No matter how beautiful your dreams look on paper, if you don't start, you will never take off. So starting helps you to turn your ideas into action. Just like I went to Nigeria in 2015, I can't even believe it's 11 years now. That helped me to put into action the dreams that I've always had as a child, to empower women, to speak life into women, and help them to believe in the possibilities of the dreams that God has embedded inside of them. As you're listening to me right now, I want to let you know that you have a gold mine inside of you, and God is waiting for you to mine that field, to mine that gold out of you. And as you begin to take that step of faith, you don't have to start big. There's a Yoruba proverb, or maybe it's an English proverb. It says that, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Start small, but be smart about it. You cannot swallow an entire elephant in one day. So one bite at a time, even if it takes you 10 years, I think that's one concept that a lot of people struggle with. So, oh, it's going to take a long time. But guess what? That time will pass anyway, even if you fold your arms. So would you rather start and see yourself make progress in the next 5-10 years than to fold your arms until you feel like everything is okay? Don't despise humble beginnings. I told you that my mom was my own inspiration. I watched my mom build a business from the side of a refrigerator to having multiple shops, multiple outlets in town. And this was a town that people would typically say, oh, it's a slow town, business is not moving. but because she decided to play dumb, as I like to call it. Because if you want to succeed in life, if you want to move forward, you have to play dumb. And what do I mean by that? It's by not listening to people's opinions. People will always have something to say. Just like when I went to Nigeria, even though I had that burden inside of me, I wanted to empower women. I didn't know how it would pan out. But here we are 11 years after. I look back with so much gratitude to God that I started at the time that I started. Now, the journey is never going to be a straight path. The way you dream about it is not almost the same way that it unfolds before your eyes. There might be some obstacles that you would never anticipate, no matter how great you are with your strategy. But when you build that courage muscle, it helps you to keep going despite the obstacles, in spite of any roadblocks that you might encounter in your way. The last thing that I want to talk about in this start session is knowing your numbers. A lot of people tend to underestimate the power of being specific. So you've always dreamed of starting a business, but you have no funds. However, you don't even know how much it will cost you to take off. What if by providence you meet your helper in an elevator? Are you able to eloquently list the things that you need to get started? There's so much power in being specific, in knowing exactly what you want and being able to eloquently describe it no matter the time of the day. So I have a question for you at this point. If I wake you up at 2 a.m. and I ask you, what do you need to get started? How much will you tell me you need? I would love to read from you in the comment box. As I wait to read from you, so if I wake you up at 2 a.m., that's the question, and I ask you how much you need to get started, what will your response be? Please put that in the chat box. I would love to read from you. Okay. I'm yet to see any response. If I wake you up at 2 a.m., is everyone there? Okay, I see one audacious woman. She says $100,000. Okay, let's see. We have 87502. Says 3 million. Queen Lovett, $50,000. Queen Debbie says 10,000. Is it euros? Yeah, that's euros. Euros. Catfish business. I will need $3,000. That's Abiola Umar. Okay. Okay, we have more. Canadian dollars. $30,000. Well, kudos to you all. 50M. Okay. So to everyone, you've done well, but to 3 million and 50M, I really don't know what that means. When we're talking about being specific, it's about knowing exactly what you want to make it convincing to whoever is there to help you. Now, when you start, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. And you have two pathways when you start. Okay, yes. So you have two pathways when you start. There's one path that leads to fear, and there's another path that leads to action. You would always see these two paths in front of you, you would always have that option of choosing the path of fear and the other one that leads you to action. Now, it's not like the fear will go away or you can eliminate it. Fear will always be there. Even the most successful people, as I'm sitting in front of you, when I think about some of the things that God has laid on my heart or some of the things that I want to do, I see fear. So fear is part of that equation. But the question is, are you able to move forward despite that fear? Are you able to move forward in spite of the fear? Because fear will paralyze you. It will waste your time because it will drive you into this mode of analysis paralysis. It leads to regrets in the end because now you look back in 5 years and you say, oh, if I had known, I would have started 5 years ago. But the moment you act, you feel empowered, you feel liberated, you feel fulfilled. So it's all about choice. Dreaming, starting, these are choices that we make in our lifetime. Now, let's move on to the last one, which talks about growing. Sometimes, before I move into, this different aspect of growing, sometimes growth can feel stagnant. You might start a dream and things pick up with speed. Then you get to a point where you have that plateau and it feels like nothing is moving. It feels like you're stagnant. It feels like you're not moving forward. But always know that the fact that something is stagnant or you've reached the plateau doesn't mean that nothing is going on beneath. It's like planting a cocoa seed. The first 5 to 10 years after planting that cocoa seed, you're not going to see much. You would almost be tempted to cut off the tree. And that brings me to a story that happened while I was growing up. In our yard, we had a grapefruit. A grapefruit is almost like an orange tree. That tree had turns and all that. And for many years, I would bug my mom that, Mom, this tree is not bearing fruit. Let's cut it down. And she would say, give it time. I never understood that concept of time until one day we woke up and we started seeing grapefruit budding on this tree. It was almost a miracle, at least to me. And for so many years, that grape tree fruit bore fruit such that not only were we consuming the fruit in our family, we had more than enough to even give out to strangers, families, and friends alike. So why am I sharing this? Growth can be painful, and there's always a waiting period. But while you're growing and while you're waiting, what are some of the things that you need to do? You need to build systems. What do I mean by systems? You need to put things in place such that if you are absent, other people can replicate what you do. Other people can implement your ideas without you necessarily being in that space all the time. If your entire dream or idea solely depends on you in such a manner that no one else can implement it in your absence, then you need to go back to the drawing board. Then the concept of learning. I recall that when I graduated from college, or while we were looking forward to graduating from college, one of the lingos that was commonplace for my friends and I was that on that last day, once we drop our pens, no more studying. That mindset out of the window, because the day we stop learning is the day we start dying. Learning is beyond the four walls of a traditional classroom. If you truly want to grow, you would avail yourself to every learning opportunity. And I already know that you are here today on a Saturday. You could be elsewhere. You could be at an OWAM there. You could be lounging in your living room, watching TV. but you decided to be here. So that tells me that you're someone that values growth. And I want you to applaud yourself for that. To grow, we cannot grow in isolation. We need people. You need people even much more than you think you need them. You never know when someone might be of help. So please, as you think about your growth journey, invest in people. Invest in people. In fact, if I were to pick two things that will help us grow in life, I would say it's knowledge and people. So hold on to people and hold on to learning. Learn to build good relationships. You don't have to be best of friends, but you need people in life. Giving opens doors. Sometimes you might give one and that person will give you back 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or 1 million. I've seen it happen in so many ways in my own life. And I want to encourage you, if you truly want to grow, then you have to give. So in rounding up, before we move on to the panel session, I want to share what I call 5 C's with you, power nuggets. To really move on in this entrepreneurship journey, whether you've started or maybe you're thinking of starting, this is November 2025. And by the time I connect with you again next year, maybe you're going to send me a letter or you connect with me on social media. I want to see you grow. I want to see things moving in your life. But these 5 C's I will leave with you. And they are clarity, which reduces your confusion, if not totally eliminates it. Courage to start, because if you don't have that courage, guess what? You're going nowhere. Consistency. The beauty of consistency would only reflect over time. You might not feel it now, but the ability to show up day in, day out will help you to experience a breakthrough one day. We've talked about relationships, but for the purpose of this nugget, I will name that connection. Never forget to connect with people. Be helpful, not just think of ways in which you will get something from others, but think about how you can add value to their lives. Ask yourself, what can I do to make this person have a great day? And then go ahead and do it. Lastly, but not least, would be your character. Your character is your currency. Your integrity is your currency. Your attitude will open doors for you. And there you have it. If you truly want to dream, start and grow, the time is now. It's not tomorrow. It's not the next hour. The time is actually now. And as power woman, I know you can do it. I encourage you to do it. And if you ever have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.